Earth was busy as usual. In cities all over the world, people were going about their daily lives. In laboratories, scientists were studying strange signals coming from deep space. They had been monitoring these signals for weeks, but no one could figure out what they meant. One sunny afternoon, everything changed. A massive shadow fell over New York City. People looked up and gasped as a gigantic alien ship hovered above them, blocking out the sun. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The ship was dark and metallic, with strange lights flashing along its surface. Fear spread like wildfire through the streets. As the world watched in shock, a holographic figure appeared above the ship. The figure was tall and thin, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the crowd. It spoke in a deep, echoing voice that sent chills down everyone's spine. "Humans of Earth," it began, "we come with a warning. Your worlds will be consumed!" Panic erupted. People screamed and ran, trying to escape the terrifying sight. News channels broadcast the event live, capturing the fear and confusion on the streets. Viewers at home sat frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. Was this a threat or a warning? Governments around the globe scrambled to respond. In a secret bunker, world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense, filled with uncertainty. "We cannot ignore this," one leader said, slamming his fist on the table. "We need to prepare for the worst." Others argued, believing that it might be a misunderstanding. "What if they just want to talk?" one diplomat suggested, trying to find a peaceful solution. Meanwhile, in the heart of the city, ordinary people were reacting in their own ways. Some formed groups, shouting for the government to take action. Others were too frightened to move, glued to their screens, waiting for news. As night fell, the ship remained hovering, its lights illuminating the city below. Schools closed early and businesses shut down. People gathered in their homes, glued to the news. As the hours passed, theories began to spread. Some believed the aliens were here to save them, while others feared they would destroy everything. The uncertainty was suffocating. Back at the government meeting, tensions were rising. "We need to show strength," a military general urged. "If we appear weak, they will take advantage of us." But others argued for diplomacy. "Let's try to communicate first." "Violence will only lead to more violence," a woman said, her voice calm but firm. As the debate continued, a young scientist named Dr. Maya Chen spoke up. "What if we could send a message back?" she proposed. "We can show them we are not afraid and want to negotiate." The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. It was a risk, but it might be their only hope. Back outside, people were gathering in groups, discussing what to do next. A sense of unity began to form. Neighbors who had never spoken before shared their fears and hopes. They started to make plans, some talking about forming peaceful protests, others discussing how they could prepare for a potential attack. As the night wore on, the ship remained. Its lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the ground. People began to feel a mix of fear and determination. They realized that they could not let fear control them. They had to stand together and find a way to face this unknown threat. Finally, the alien ship emitted a low hum that vibrated through the air. The holographic figure appeared again, repeating its chilling message, "Your worlds will be consumed." The words echoed in the hearts of everyone watching. In that moment, something changed in the air. People began to understand that this was not just a warning, it was a challenge. Earth was not going to surrender easily. Together, they would find a way to fight back, whatever it took. The dawn of a new battle was on the horizon, and humanity would have to unite to face the impending threat. The world was still in shock after the alien message. News reports filled the airwaves with speculation and fear. People everywhere were talking about the aliens, wondering what their next move would be. Governments scrambled to respond, but the uncertainty was palpable. In a large, secure room deep underground, world leaders met for an urgent summit. The atmosphere was tense. Leaders from different countries looked at each other with worry etched on their faces. "We need to act fast," said President Smith, his voice firm. "This is a real threat to our planet." Chancellor Liu from China nodded in agreement. "We cannot ignore this. We must unite as one planet. Our differences don't matter right now." Leaders from various nations began discussing military options, but the conversation quickly turned heated. "We cannot show weakness," General Harris warned. "We need to prepare for war. The aliens won't hesitate to strike." Some leaders agreed, while others urged for caution. "What if they are just trying to scare us?" "We should attempt to communicate first," said Prime Minister Patel, looking hopeful. Meanwhile, outside the meeting room, people were reacting in their own ways. Protests sprang up in major cities. Signs reading, "We will not surrender," and "Earth stands united," filled the streets. People from all walks of life gathered, chanting for action. They wanted their governments to protect them and fight back against the alien threat. On social media, hashtags like "Sakshak Defend Earth" and "Syak Stand Together" began trending. Individuals shared stories of bravery, encouraging one another to stay strong. Many took to the streets, joining rallies and demanding that leaders take decisive action. In a small town, a group of friends gathered in a living room to discuss the crisis. "We can't just sit here and wait for something to happen," said Jake, a high school student. "We should form a community watch or something." His friends nodded in agreement, eager to do something. They began planning how they could help prepare their town for any possible attack. Back at the summit, Dr. Maya Chen presented her idea again. "We could send a message to the aliens. Show them we are not afraid and want to negotiate," she proposed. Some leaders were skeptical, but others saw a glimmer of hope in her words. "What do we have to lose?" asked Ambassador Rossi. "If we can communicate, we might find a way to avoid war." After much discussion, they decided to send a simple message, expressing humanity's desire for peace. As the sun set, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to create a response. They used a powerful satellite to transmit the message into space. "We are Earth. We want to understand you. Please talk to us," the message read. Days passed, and the world waited anxiously for a reply. People tried to maintain their daily lives, but a heavy cloud of fear hung over them. Schools held discussions about the aliens, and parents reassured their children that everything would be okay. In the military, training intensified. Soldiers practiced drills preparing for the worst. They understood the need for readiness, but many also felt a sense of unease. War was not something they took lightly. Amidst the chaos, small acts of kindness began to emerge. Neighbors helped one another prepare emergency kits, sharing food and supplies. A sense of community grew stronger as people united against the common threat. Finally, a week after sending the message, a response came. A bright light lit up the sky as the alien ship reappeared, hovering above major cities. Panic gripped the world again. "Are they here to destroy us?" people whispered. Fear etched on their faces. But this time, the aliens did not deliver a warning. Instead, they projected a holographic image of their leader. The alien looked stern but calm, and it spoke slowly, translating its words into many languages. "We have received your message. We wish to discuss terms." A wave of hope washed over the crowd. Perhaps there was a chance for peace after all. But questions lingered in the air. Would humanity be able to negotiate with such a powerful force? Would they be able to protect their planet? The future remained uncertain, but for the first time, they had a chance to fight for it. The world held its breath as the alien ship loomed overhead, casting a massive shadow across cities. People stared up in fear and uncertainty. News outlets broadcast the alien leader's message, hoping for a peaceful resolution, but tension filled the air. Everyone wondered what the aliens would do next. Suddenly, without warning, the atmosphere changed. The alien ship fired a bright beam of light down toward a major city. In an instant, buildings began to crumble. Panic erupted as people screamed and ran for safety. The attack was swift and ruthless, catching everyone off guard. In military command centers, chaos ensued. Generals and commanders shouted orders, trying to coordinate a response. "We must mobilize immediately," shouted General Harris. "We need to protect our people." Troops scrambled to get into position, but it was clear that the aliens had come prepared. Back in the city, fear gripped the hearts of the citizens. They watched helplessly as the aliens unleashed their power. Cars flipped over and smoke filled the air. Rescue workers rushed to help, but the destruction was overwhelming. In the middle of the chaos, a group of brave individuals decided to take action. They formed a makeshift defense team led by a young woman named Sarah. "We can't just wait here," she shouted, rallying her neighbors. "We have to help!" With determination, they began to organize an evacuation, helping people to safety while trying to protect their home. Meanwhile, the government issued a nationwide alert. "All citizens, evacuate immediately," blared the emergency broadcasts. People scrambled to find shelter as the alien ship continued its attack, destroying everything in its path. The fear of the unknown was palpable. In the military, there was a frantic effort to fight back. Jets soared into the sky, armed with missiles and lasers. Pilots were trained, but nothing could prepare them for the overwhelming size and power of the alien ship. The first wave of jets approached, and the world watched with bated breath. As the jets engaged the alien forces, it became clear that the aliens were not just attackers. They were highly advanced warriors. The jets struggled to penetrate the ship's defenses, and one by one they were shot down in fiery explosions. The sight left many spectators in tears, realizing the fight was far from over. Back on the ground, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly, coordinating evacuations and helping the injured. They set up a makeshift clinic in a school gym, treating wounds and offering comfort. "We can't lose hope," Sarah said to her friends. "If we stick together, we can survive this." Her words inspired others to keep fighting, even in the darkest moments. As night fell, the city was bathed in red and orange flames. The alien ship hovered menacingly, displaying its power. But amidst the destruction, something remarkable happened. Groups of people began to rise, forming a resistance. They gathered whatever resources they could find, weapons from abandoned cars, and even makeshift armor from debris. In a nearby command center, scientists analyzed the aliens' technology, desperate to find a weakness. Dr. Maya Chen worked late into the night, poring over data and simulations. "We need to understand how their shields work," she urged her colleagues. "If we can find a way to disrupt them, we might stand a chance." As dawn broke, the atmosphere shifted. Humanity had suffered great losses, but they were far from defeated. Citizens began to gather in groups, united by a common goal. They decided to create a plan to strike back. "We may be outnumbered, but we have something they don't. Determination," Sarah declared during an impromptu meeting in the park. "Let's show them we are not afraid to fight for our homes." The crowd cheered, fueled by a sense of hope. As word spread, more people joined the resistance. They pooled their resources, sharing ideas and strategies. Children, women, and men all came together to protect their planet. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to stand up against the invaders. The first strike had been devastating, but it ignited a fire within humanity. They understood that the battle was far from over. United, they would fight back and defend their home no matter the cost. As they looked to the horizon, determination filled their hearts. The real fight was just beginning. As dawn broke over the battered city, a new energy filled the air. The sun's rays pierced through the smoke, offering a glimmer of hope. The people of Earth were rising to the challenge, and the resistance was growing stronger. Sarah and her team, now known as the Earth Defenders, gathered in a community center, eager to strategize. "Today is our day," Sarah said, her voice steady. "We can't let fear control us any longer. We need to take back our city." The room filled with nods of agreement. The members of the resistance were ready to fight, and they had a plan. Meanwhile, Dr. Maya Chen and her team of scientists worked tirelessly in a nearby lab. They had spent sleepless nights analyzing the aliens' technology, searching for a weakness. Finally, they discovered something crucial. The aliens' energy shields had a flaw. "If we can disrupt their power source, we might be able to take them down," Maya exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. The news spread like wildfire through the ranks of the Earth Defenders. With renewed determination, they began to prepare for the upcoming battle. They gathered makeshift weapons, tools, and anything they could find to help in the fight. Communities banded together, creating a network of support that stretched across the city. As evening approached, the defenders assembled outside, ready to confront the alien threat once more. "We have one shot at this," Sarah said, looking each person in the eye. "If we stick together, we can do this." The group cheered, their spirits high. The plan was simple but daring. A small team would infiltrate the alien ship and locate its power core. If they could disable it, the shields would drop, and the remaining forces could attack with full strength. Sarah led the team, which included Maya and a few skilled fighters. They approached the alien ship under the cover of darkness, using the rubble of the city as their shield. Heart pounding, Sarah signaled the team to move quietly. The ship loomed above them, its metallic surface glinting ominously in the moonlight. The air was thick with tension, but determination fueled their steps. As they reached the ship, they found a weak spot. Maya quickly began to work on hacking the security system. "I can get us in," she whispered, her fingers flying over the controls. With a beep, the door opened, and they slipped inside. The interior was cold and unfamiliar, filled with strange lights and sounds. They navigated through dimly lit corridors, moving quickly but cautiously. Suddenly, alarms blared. "They've spotted us!" shouted one of the fighters. "Keep moving!" Sarah urged, leading the way. They dashed through the ship, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The team fought off alien guards as they went, relying on their training and instincts. Finally, they reached the power core chamber. It was massive and pulsing with energy. "This is it!" Maya yelled, her eyes wide. She quickly began to work on disabling the core. "Cover me!" The team spread out, ready to defend Maya while she worked. Alien soldiers closed in, and the sounds of battle echoed around them. Sarah fought bravely, pushing back against the invaders. With every strike, she felt the weight of her people behind her. "Almost there!" Maya shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. Just as she completed the final step, a powerful surge shook the ship. The energy shields flickered and dropped. "I did it!" she exclaimed, relief flooding her voice. "Now let's get out of here!" Sarah urged, and they began to retreat. As they ran back through the corridors, the ship trembled and explosions erupted behind them. They sprinted toward the exit, narrowly avoiding debris. Outside, the Earth defenders had already launched their counterattack. With the shields down, jets soared into the sky, and ground forces charged forward, launching an all-out assault on the alien ship. The tide had turned. As the defenders regrouped, they witnessed the power of unity. People fought side by side, inspired by the bravery of those who had infiltrated the ship. Cheers erupted as they pushed back the alien forces, reclaiming their city. The battle was far from over, but hope burned bright in their hearts. They had faced despair and emerged stronger. Together they would fight to protect their home, ready to turn the tide once and for all. The spirit of humanity was alive, and they were ready to show the universe what they could achieve. The battle was over, but the aftermath lay heavy on the hearts of those who had fought to protect their home. As dawn broke over the city, the air was filled with a mixture of victory and sorrow. The Earth defenders had successfully driven back the alien invaders, but the cost had been great. Sarah stood in the middle of the rubble, surveying the destruction. The streets were scarred, buildings were in ruins, and the remnants of the battle lay scattered around her. But amidst the chaos, a spirit of resilience flickered. Survivors emerged from their hiding places, helping each other and searching for loved ones. In the following days, people came together to rebuild. Volunteers from every corner of the city united, clearing debris and starting repairs. Schools and community centers became gathering places for those who needed support. Neighbors who had once been strangers now worked side by side, forming bonds that would last a lifetime. Maya continued her research, focusing on the technology left behind by the aliens. "We need to understand them better," she explained to a group of scientists. "If we can learn from this, we can prepare for the future." Her passion inspired many, and they began to analyze alien technology, hoping to uncover valuable insights. As the city slowly regained its footing, the global response was immense. Nations came together to support one another, sharing resources and rebuilding efforts. Governments held summits to discuss new defenses against potential threats. The people had learned a vital lesson: unity was their greatest strength. In the heart of the city, a memorial was erected to honor those who had fallen during the battle. It was a place for reflection, a symbol of sacrifice and resilience. People visited daily, leaving flowers and messages of hope. Sarah stood there one evening, feeling the weight of loss, but also a sense of pride. The names of heroes were etched in stone, but their spirits would live on in the hearts of the living. As the weeks turned into months, the world began to heal. The story of the Earth Defenders spread across nations, inspiring others to stand strong against adversity. Books were written, movies were made, and the message was clear. When united, humanity could face any challenge. During a special ceremony, Sarah was invited to speak. Standing in front of a crowd of thousands, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. "We faced fear and uncertainty, but together, we showed the world our strength," she began, her voice steady. "We fought not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Let us remember that when we stand united, we are unstoppable." As she spoke, applause filled the air. The crowd was inspired and hope swelled in their hearts. The world had changed. People were more connected and aware of their power. In the months that followed, the aliens remained silent. Some wondered if they would return, but many felt ready to face whatever came next. The Earth Defenders had prepared for the unknown, creating plans to protect their home. They held training sessions, sharing knowledge and skills to ensure that everyone was ready. One day, while surveying the repaired city, Sarah received a communication from Maya. "I think I've made a breakthrough," she said, excitement evident in her voice. "I found a way to send a message to the aliens, inviting them to discuss peace." Sarah's heart raced. "Do you think they'll listen?" "It's worth a try," Maya replied. "We can't let fear dictate our future. We need to show them we want to coexist." With that, the Earth sent a message into space, extending a hand of peace to the aliens. Days passed and anticipation filled the air. The world watched and waited, hoping for a positive response. Then, one bright morning, a familiar light appeared in the sky. The alien ship returned, but this time it carried a different energy. The people gathered in the streets, anxious but hopeful. As the ship landed, a figure emerged, the same alien leader who had once threatened them. But this time, there was no hostility in its stance. Instead, it held out a hand, a gesture of peace. Humanity had faced a great trial and emerged stronger. They had learned the value of unity, courage, and hope. Now, standing together, they prepared to greet their visitors with open hearts, ready to build a future filled with understanding and cooperation. The journey had just begun, but this time they were ready for whatever lay ahead.